Sequential explanation of period. William Shakespeare developed as a writer and playwright under two different monarchs. In these two stages he wrote various works, each of them showing a wide range of genre, as well as themes, always respecting the author's own style, revolutionary for post-Renaissance and Baroque literature. The time is, among other events, characterized by religious changes. The Church of England broke from Rome during the reign of Henry VIII. He established himself as the supreme head of the Church in England. Henry VIII founded the modern English Navy, and during the reign of Elizabeth I, Atlantic explorations and maritime trade paved England's way towards becoming an imperial power. London was rapidly rising in importance. Its many small industries were growing, and the city itself became one of the first European metropolis. In 1553, the Queen Mary or Bloody Mary dies, and Elizabeth I takes the throne. In 1564, Shakespeare born, and during the Elizabethan era, from 1528 until 1603, England underwent a series of changes and advances, not only economic or territorial, but also in the arts, science, and especially in the performing arts and literature. The Virgin Queen Elizabeth I was the first monarch in history to grant theatre permit and the first to build a wooden theatre for public staging. English Renaissance took hold on, and playwrights like Thomas Kidd and Christopher Marlowe revolutionized theatre. Their plays blended the old morality drama with classical theory to produce a new secular form. After the death of the Virgin Queen, James I of England and Ireland and VI of Scotland ascended the throne. This didn't bring problems for the development of the arts, quite the contrary, since the monarch had a great encyclopedic knowledge and dedicated time to writing. It is known that he was a learned king who was in favor of literary development and other artistic disciplines. Jacobean Shakespeare. Shakespeare reached maturity as a dramatist at the end of Elizabeth's reign, and in the first years of the reign of James. In these years, he responded to a deep shift in popular tastes, both in subject matter and approach. Plot of the story. The work begins with the story of King Henry or Enrique VIII, from his marital situation with his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, and ends with the baptism of his daughter Elizabeth I, whose mother was Anne Boleyn, his next wife and crowned queen. During the first act, Cardinal Wolsey expressed hostility towards Buckingham, Later, Buckingham is arrested on charges of treason caused by Wolsey. Queen Catherine enters to protest Wolsey's abuse of the tax system for his own ends. Wolsey fights back, but when the king reverses the cardinal's measures, Wolsey spreads the rumor that he himself is responsible for the king's action. The king then ordered Buckingham's trial to take place. Buckingham himself is later taken into custody to later get him released. The next scene shows Wolsey starting to move against Queen Catherine. Catherine reproaches Wolsey for her machination against her and refuses to stay during the proceeding. But the king defends Wolsey, saying it was his own doubt about the legitimacy of his marriage that led to the trial. King Henry or Enrique realizes that Wolsey is playing a double game. The king shows Wolsey his displeasure and then strips him of his possessions. The king marries Anne Boleyn. Catherine is later shown ill. She has a vision of dancing spirit. Catherine expresses her continued loyalty to the king despite her divorce and wishes the new queen well. Sometime later, Anne Boleyn gives birth to a daughter, the future Queen Elizabeth I, and excited crown attend baby Elizabeth's christening. On the other hand, in the general plot, the religion is the official one in England, although it is worth mentioning that the argument ends with any explicit reference to it. Throughout the work there are dialogues closely related to political and religious issues, convictions in La Torre, confabulations, and others. From my point of view, Shakespeare doesn't delve in any way into the character of Enrique VIII and deals with the most convulsive event of the king's divorce, which would lead to appearance of new religion with speed and superficiality. Principal characters. The main characters in this case is Enrique VIII, was a cultured, intelligent man and fervent to the Catholicism. I consider him the main character because the story narrates part of Enrique's life, even though he doesn't have much prominence. Now the antagonist, Cardinal Wolsey, the latter being the protagonist of the first three acts, right-hand man to the king, who is portrayed as an infamous traitor, hypocrite, ambitious, and evil. The secondary character. The figure of Catherine of Aragon, queen and wife of Henry before Anne, stands out, who is distrustful, brave, serene, and resigned to her fatal destiny. The main conflict. Shakespeare doesn't delve into the character of Enrique VIII in any way, and treats the event of the king's divorce, which would lead to the emergence of the new religion. From the point of view of the king's life, the conflict begins with the unsuccessful union with his life. Enrique saw clearly that he couldn't have a male heir while he was still married to Catherine. Slowly, Enrique's revulsion of Catherine increased, while his love for Anne Boleyn increased. Henry VIII, or Enrique VIII, decided to seek by all means the annulment of his marriage to Catherine so that he could marry again and have a child. William Shakespeare's life. He was born on April 23 in 1564 in Stamford upon Avon, a township in Warwickshire, south of Birmingham, England, United Kingdom. Shakespeare and Cervantes died on April 23 in 1616, but while Spain already used the Gregorian calendar, in England they continued to use the Julian calendar. So if we take into account the difference in the Gregorian calendar, Shakespeare died 10 days later, that is, on April 3. At the age of 18, Shakespeare married Anne Hathaway, a woman 8 years older than him, who was their month pregnant, with who he had 3 children, Susan and the twins Judith and Hamlet. He and his wife Anne Hathaway used to live apart. There is no descendant of his. Hamlet died as a child in 1596, and only one of his daughters bore him a granddaughter who died childless in 1670. He survived 2 major outbreaks of the bubonic plague that hit London, one in 1564, when he was just a baby, and another in 1690. A team of scientists said they found traces of marijuana, cannabis, in 8 different pipes that were used by Shakespeare. Traces of cocaine were also found in 2 other pipes. The use of cannabis was common for the time since it was used for the treatment of different conditions and diseases. Writing style. William Shakespeare's writing style was borrowed from the convention of the day and adapted to his needs. William Shakespeare's early plays were written in the conventional style of the day. He wrote them in stylized language that doesn't always come naturally from the needs of the character of the drama. The poetry relies on lengthy, sometimes elaborate, metaphors and conceit, and the language is often rhetorical, writing, writing for the actors to declaim rather than speak. Shakespeare's standard poetic form was blank verse, composed in iambic pentameter, with clever use of wordplay and imagery. In practice, this meant that his verse was generally unrhymed and consisted of then 10 syllables per line, pronounced with an accent of every second syllable. The blank verse of his early work is quite different from that of his later ones.